Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, live here on YouTube channel and YouTube channel only. I will maybe take this podcast to Blog Talk Radio probably in a couple hours or so. But for now, we are just live here on the YouTube channel as we discuss the world of sports and pop culture. Again, no call number. You can follow me on Instagram at RIL or go to my Twitter page. Follow me on Twitter at William Gerald. Day after the conference finals have are complete. We got whatever we got, what everybody expected at the beginning of the season. That's, of course, Cleveland facing Golden State, though a lot harder than I'm sure both teams would have liked and thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season. But regardless, we get Golden State, Cleveland. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that matchup. I want to look back at the losing teams per se, in particular the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets blew a golden opportunity to possibly win a world championship. Now, again, I understand that Chris Paul was out. I get that. But so was Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala was out as well. And bottom line is they had 17 and 15-point leads in both games 6 and 7. You had game 7 at home. You had a Warrior team that seemed to be in the first half of that game on the ropes. And Houston just could not close the deal in the second half. And again, the theme was, and this was a theme over the course of the conference finals, and I said this on a previous podcast, war of attrition. These four teams combined to shoot 25% from the three-point range, and they needed that. They needed a Golden State effort of basically of shooting, 40%. 16 of Golden State shot 16 and 39 to make that even look respectable when they took out Houston last night. So 3 of the 4 teams shot miserably from the three-point line in the conference finals, in the game sevens, and that was due to tired legs, some physical defense at the last couple of games, and that is the three-point shot. So you go with Houston, right? Their whole thing is freeze threes, layups, three-point shots. Let's take as many three-point shots as possible. They've done this analytics where, 2-point shots don't count as much as three-point shots, and we're going to try to get many three-point shots up as possible. We're going to try to get as many possessions as possible. We're going to do the math, and we feel like this is the best possible shot for us to take outside of a layup. The layups. There's still nothing wrong with the good old-fashioned layup in today's NBA. The layup has replaced the post game. They don't have any post-up players. Of course, we both know this, even though James Harden could be, I think, an effective post-up player against smaller guards. But let's say in this series, that wasn't the case. You had a lot of these switches came on. The big man, Klay Thompson, was one of his primary defenders. That was not the case. You got guys like James Harden and Eric Gordon who are more than capable of getting to the rim. Eric Gordon, for a small period of time during that game 7, just decided, you know what, forget this. I'm just going to put my head down and go to the rim. And he got to a line. He got either a layup and got to the line a couple times. He only ended up going to the line 4 times throughout the game. James Harden was the victim of 3 missed calls by Scott Foster, who, if not for the 27 straight misses, probably would have been one of the focal points in the game 7. He was awful in that game. Scott Foster was just one of the worst officiated game 7s that you will see by an individual official who is as respected as Scott Foster. The star players don't like him though, because he actually calls fouls on the star players. So star players really don't mess with Scott Foster like that. But anyway, he's a respected and an above average official. This is where style of play costed Houston, in particular in Game 7. You have got to have another option besides hoisting up 10,000 three-point shots. Excuse me. Golden State Warriors rank number 1 over the course of the season, number 1 in three-point percentage, but ranks in the middle of the pack, somewhere between 15 and 16 in terms of 3 points attempted. That means they go to the hole, they get layups, they will take a mid-range jump shot. Okay, they don't have post-up players. They don't have guys who can post that are great post-up players. KD, Kevin Durant only post up when he has like a 6 or 8 inch mismatch on a 2 guard or a point guard. It's not his game. He's not a legit post up. About 240 pounds. So this is where their philosophy, the Mike D'Antoni philosophy, costed them, and it costed them 2 ways. Costed them because of fatigue, and it also contributed to the injury of Chris Paul with the hamstring. Last season, we saw James Harden break down during the finals, during the second round against San Antonio, just wear down. Now, he didn't get hurt, but he clearly was not the same player physically that he was during the regular season or even during the beginning of the playoffs, from that Oklahoma City series to the end of that San Antonio series. This is where style of play got in the way of Houston's chance of making the NBA Finals. And I'm telling you right now, those Houston fans who think you're going to come back next year and go get over the top, I will give you cases where that just doesn't happen. Kings got a bad whistle in Game 6. Let's be fair about it. But should have beat the Lakers. Had the Robert Horry shot in Game 4. Kobe and Shaq, wrapped it up in Game 7. And we never heard from the Sacramento Kings ever again. They were never relevant again. Chris Webber gets hurt the previous year, and basically, San Antonio and the Lakers basically, dominate the next 4 to 5. Basically San Antonio and the Lakers trade championships with a couple of teams, whether it be Dallas, whether it be Miami, or whether it be somebody like a Boston, Detroit, kind of getting a little piece of the pie. But basically, Sacramento was in 2006, but 2002 was their last shot as far as being a championship caliber team. So you have them. Then you have remember, I can go way back even to the '95 Orlando Magic. Everybody thought Penny and Shaq were going to run the decade team, team of the future. They get to the finals. I believe Shaq was like 25. Shaq was like 24. Penny was 25. They were all NBA MVP candidates. Get to the finals, get swept by Houston. Never heard from again. Then get swept by the Bulls a year later in the conference finals. Never heard from him again. Penny has injury problems. Shaq leaves for the Lakers. The team gets broken up. Gets broken up after Shaq. Basically, after Shaq leaves to LA, that was it. So again, a lot of times when you get your opportunity to win a championship, you better take advantage of it. Look at the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks were one of the few teams that got a second chance. 2006, they get to the NBA Finals, okay, and blow a 2-0 lead, including a 13-point lead in Game 3. Miami wins 4 straight. It took Dallas 5 years to get back to that point again. And remember, that was a year where the NBA kind of was like in flux. Lakers were on the decline. You had a Miami team that was not ready to win. You had a San Antonio team that was kind of in between, aging a little bit. Yeah, Oklahoma City team that was too young. So Dallas wins the championship in 2011, and all of a sudden Miami becomes a juggernaut, wins back-to-back championships. Oklahoma City basically takes over the Western Conference, and San Antonio improves to a point to where 2 years later, they would be in the finals, and 3 years later, they would win a championship. Dallas does not win that championship in 2011. Dirk Nowitzki would retire with no championship rings because Dallas has not been. They have not been a factor since 2011. So if you're Houston and you're a fan of Houston, tomorrow, next year, you could be out in the conference semifinals for all you know. We don't anticipate Golden State going anywhere. Um, you have some up and coming teams coming up in the Western Conference. We don't know what's going to happen with LeBron. And speaking of LeBron, because that's a perfect segue to his decision and what could be coming up for him. If I'm LeBron, and LeBron is thinking about this stuff because the guy is so calculated, he's so forward thinking in regards to what his next move is going to be. I would cross Houston off the list if they ever were on the list. Because I'm looking at Houston, I see Chris Paul, an aging point guard who struggles to finish in the postseason. I mean, physically finishing the postseason. That was on the court play. And I see a James Harden who, frankly, despite being paired with a future Hall of Fame point guard, still the lights were too bright. And if I'm LeBron James, do I really want to go to Houston based on what I saw this year? And you could take the flip side and say, well, LeBron could do similar to Kevin Durant and say, hey, they couldn't win it without me. I'll put them over the top. But again, do you want to risk playing with an Asian point guard and a guy in James Harden, unlike Kyrie, who will crack under the pressure, who wants no part of dealing with pressure basketball in the postseason? There's no part of it. Let's be honest. So I would cross Houston off the list if I'm LeBron James. Boston is fine. Even if they lose Marcus Smart, they will be getting back 2 All-Stars. And, I picked Boston to win Game 7. I thought the home court would be enough. I did not think their young players would just fold up like that and just can't basically start throwing up 3-pointers when Boston had been a decent 3-point shooting team. It also had been a team that would attack the basket. I was shocked. I wasn't shocked by Houston. I was shocked by Boston not being able to make a shot. But certainly you give the credit to Cleveland. LeBron got enough help in Game 7. J.R. Smith hit a big three. Jeff Green had 19 and 8. And LeBron, controlled the pace of the game, took the air out of the ball, mucked it up enough to where Boston got it to a point to where Boston could not deal with that slow pace, patience, kind of picking things apart like a chess master, basically. That's exactly what LeBron was. He was a chess master in that Game 7. He was in complete control of that game. He even played better than his numbers, and his numbers were phenomenal, 35, 15, and 9. But he was in complete control of that game. So now we enter the finals, and a final series that I did not want to see whatsoever. A final series that to me is like a bad rerun. You know what's going to happen, but you're probably still going to watch it anyway. We'll have more as we get closer to the finals. The good thing is the NBA, the NBA doesn't make us wait until the following Thursday. They will have, for the first time in my lifetime, that the finals will start prior to June on May 31st. But clearly, the smart decision by the NBA. So you had the finals going on. You also have the French Open, where Serena Williams is back, and why she has to explain herself in terms of what she's wearing, I don't understand. Well, I guess 23 Grand Slams doesn't mean anything. And I guess people haven't been following Serena over the course of her career and some of the outfits that she's worn, that her recent, skin tight outfit that she's wearing, that probably wouldn't crack the top 5, top 10 outfits, provocative outfits that she's worn. I think it'd be like comparing a pair of bloomers to G-string. I don't really think it's a comparison. If I'm Serena Williams, I'm not explaining my outfit to anyone. This is what I'm wearing. That's it. But I guess motherhood kind of softens you up a little bit to where you say, hey, this is for the mothers. This is for the women out there who had a baby, who can't quite get into the outfit that she once could get into. I guess she felt the need to state that. But to me, you're Serena Williams. You got 23 majors. I'm not explaining myself to anybody. You should be happy that I'm down blessing you with my presence at this tournament. So I could be chilling right now, getting ready for Wimbledon. I really could. So yeah, that in terms of French Open. Again, I'm not into French Open with the fact that you have no Roger Federer. Nadal's going to win the French Open again, but to me, the tournament has no juice without Roger Federer. I mean, you have to have Federer in that tournament for it, for a potential Nadal Federer showdown. Nadal's going to roll through all these players and go on to win another French Open and title. As far as Roseanne goes, I'm not. I don't think anybody should be surprised that Roseanne had that tweet. I think the thing to me that I take from this is, I guess if somebody told me like, "Hey, Cyril, we're gonna pay you $2.25 million to stay off Twitter," so Roseanne makes $250,000 an episode, right? Number one show on ABC, was going to be eligible to negotiate a contract in her second season and probably get more episodes. I'm guessing they would get, instead of getting 9, they would get about 15 to 18 episodes that they would probably start out in September. Remember, they came out, they reviewed the Roseanne show, they had 9 episodes starting. They started out in March. So think about it. She probably could have made $5 or $6 million next year. But if somebody pays me basically to stay off Twitter, I think it's a pretty easy decision. Even if I wear a racist. And that, again, that's the thing about this. That is pure racism. That is racist. That is that Django meets KKK meets. That is, man, that's some racist. That's power. That is racism at its purest sense. To just dismiss $2.2 million to go on Twitter and say something in today's time that probably is going to get your show canceled, or there's a chance that it's going to get your show canceled. Either that she doesn't have smart people around her to advise her and say, "Hey, Roseanne, you might not want to tweet that. You might just think, do not send, do not press send." It'd be an easy decision for me. I'm just not going to tweet it. If I feel this way, I'll just, put it in my memoirs, put another book out, and go about my business. But once I've made my money from this Roseanne reboot, 2 or 3 seasons, at least, I'm going to make about at least $20 or $30 million before I put this book out. I just say again, that racism and that hate is a powerful thing. It really is a powerful thing. Or you could say she just didn't think that this would lead those tweets would lead to them canceling her show. You could say that. That's gonna wrap it up for this abbreviated edition of the RIL Deal Podcast. We'll be back in a couple of days with a full edition of the podcast as we will either look ahead or look back at game one of the NBA Finals. I'm out.